Hey guys, I'm Brian. She's Brenda on YouTube at New Life Recovery. Brenda, it's been a few weeks. It's so good to see you.
I'm so glad to see you too, Brian. It's been a busy few weeks, but we are back.
Woohoo! So, I wanted to do something different this week, and I wanted to ask you, Brenda, if you wouldn't mind sharing your story. We all get into this kind of field for, slightly different reasons. Some people have their own recovery story. Some people I have a good friend who got into substance abuse counseling because his mom was in active addiction at one point. And I'd just love to hear from you. What's your heart, Brenda? What kind of brought you into this field, if you don't mind?
It actually led up, a lot of things led me to this field over the years. Um, just addiction in small towns, just being friends with people. In a big town, unfortunately, I lost a very, very good friend to overdosing. He went to work, had a great job, came home, went, scored, and unfortunately passed away. He had a 6-year-old daughter. He didn't wake up that morning and think, I'm going to kill myself today. It was just, he had been warned, even by his doctor, that he needed to slow down. And he wasn't getting prescriptions, but we all know you can get whatever you want to get if you're diligent enough. And so just to know that I talked to him that night and I was supposed to go meet him after work and then not hearing from him and the way that it all unfolded really hurt. And then I kind of just backed up from everybody because I didn't want to be hurt. Then COVID happened, right? And you were cut off from everybody. And there's a movie we talk about it on occasion called Dope Sick with Michael Keaton. And I watched that all alone in my house in a strange new place. And I'm like, you know what? I can make a difference here.
Mm,
Like
yeah.
I can, I miss my friend, and he's not the only one that I've lost. And look at this. I had no idea the opioid addiction was even so big. I had no idea because I was buried with working two jobs, trying to keep myself above board. I didn't realize that all this other stuff was going on. It's not good to be an ostrich and keep your head in the sand.
Yeah.
So, counseling teenagers, I'm just like, you know what? I can counsel adults. I can do that. I can learn. And I am. And I'm going to school and I'm learning, and that's kind of what brought me here. There's lots of ways you can help people. And this is how I'm doing it at this particular season.
Yeah. You mentioned the word hurt, and isn't it true that and I say this in groups sometimes, we could all share stories about crazy things that we've done when we were drunk or high. And it would probably be a fun group, right? It'd probably be a fun hour just sharing these crazy stories. But I sometimes say we could also share, we all have a story of almost everyone knows someone who's lost their lives directly related to substance abuse. And like you said, there is so much hurt, there's so much brokenness. And I love your thought, one, that I can make a difference, but two, that there really can be a turnaround. One thing we're so blessed to see is people do get better, you know? Not, it doesn't have to be a death sentence. And we've seen lives redeemed and people renewed, which is the exact opposite of substance abuse, right? Because it dominates more and more of our time and more of our money and more of our lives, and then it begins to destroy. Yet in recovery, there's redemption, there's a new life.
There is, and recovery itself is advancing and growing too. Where there are a lot more avenues to recovery. There's a lot more open-mindedness to it. It is actually a mental disease. We're redefining what it is. We're redefining how to take care of it, and we're talking about it. The best thing we can do is talk about it.
Yeah.
Before we become addicts, we have a set of friends, and then for whatever reason we get paired off or we section off, and then our life slowly begins to change as we become addicted. We don't see it changing. It's not just that one thing, it's one thing and then the next and then the next. And then within 6 months, our whole friends pool has changed, our whole support system has changed. But then when we decide to become sober, it's not progressive, it's sudden and it's shocking.
That's
And
so
it's like,
good. Yes. And so two things you said. One, yeah, when you were saying that, Brenda, I pictured this what's the snake called? Like a boa constrictor. It
yes.
kind of slithers up you, and it's like, what? I'm just here, right? Like just wrapping around you, but it's so slow. But then when it starts to constrict, it can choke out a giant animal, and that's how it gets you. Um, so it happened so slowly and methodically, but that is like the demon, if you use that terminology of addiction. It's just slowly wrapping around us and constricting. But another thing you said that I think is so worth mentioning, there's different pathways. Like your recovery might look very different than mine, might look very different than someone else's. um we work, just in case you guys don't know, Brenda and I both work at a place that prescribes Suboxone. A lot of people are philosophically against that idea, that recovery pathway. They will say things like you're trading one drug for another, and yet we've seen people get their lives back and get their kids back and be able to work and taken appropriately and a managed dose. They're not getting high. Um, they're combating withdrawal symptoms and they're functioning. Uh, but if Suboxone isn't for you, okay. Um, I know many people, a handful of people I could name who AA and NA has saved their lives, you know, and other people it was through church groups. And years ago, I used to teach a new, what was it called? Life recovery group. So it was 12 steps, but it was Bible based. And the God of the Bible was, when you talk about handing your life over to a power greater than yourselves. Um, and so yeah, I think that was a good point to bring up, Brenda, how there's different pathways, and hey, we're all working for the same thing. We're trying to get renewal. I love that.
Well, and because of COVID, and we do go over this, you can go to all of these meetings now online. You don't even have to get the courage, if you will, to get in your car, find a meeting, and walk in by yourself. You can, and it does take courage to do that, and you have to be brave to do that. It is not weak to walk into an AA meeting. It is not weak to walk into Cocaine Anonymous.
Mm,
Okay. You do have one thing in common there with everybody. You're all being brave and taking that first step. I had to be brave and take my first step, and I had to do it alone. You know what? I actually got into addiction alone. I decided to meet up with those people. You know, I decided to get sober. Now, I didn't have, a come to Jesus moment, if you will. I just got sick of everything and actually the people and just everything. And I was fortunate enough to, have a list and write things down and realize what was important. And I'm a convert, honestly, Brian. I don't know if you know that. I was into 100% zero medical assisted treatment. It was abstinence or nothing.
hmm
And I was like that for a very long time, but I got educated with the new information. There's nothing wrong with medication assisted treatment. Nothing.
Yeah.
People are on heart medication. People are on insulin. It's a disease. There is a treatment.
Yeah.
If somebody ODs on insulin, it'll kill them. Like, hello.
Yeah. It's interesting. Just like in psychology, just like in physical health, there are different philosophies within addiction recovery. And my thought is, if you're abstinence only, God bless you. And
Yes.
if you don't believe in that, Suboxone, God bless you. We want to see as many people get help as we can. I love what you said, Brenda, about um it is the strong. When you go into a counseling, if you've ever been to, counseling in a brick and mortar type place, you sit in the waiting room and you look at people, and like I've seen couples in counseling, and my thought is those are some of the strongest people because it's easy to to blow off your marriage, right? It's easy to not get help. It takes a strong person to say, I've got something that's worth fighting for. And it takes such humility to say, um, and courage to say, I need help, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get that help. So I love that you said that, Brenda. That's so true.
And we have looked before we got into our groups potentially at people and thinking, oh, they need other people and I'm strong and I don't need that. And da, 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 da. But the fact of the matter is, I may not need it, but I want it. And then once I want it, I realize I need it. So however you get there, just
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah. I love, I mean, with this idea of even getting into um recovery, yes, we got to overcome that fear of, can I recover? But that's step one, one, two, and three, am I acknowledging that a power greater than myself could save me, and am I willing to submit myself to that power? Am I willing, do I believe that there really is help out there, and am I willing to submit myself to that help, whatever that help may be? And that's where healing begins. So guys, I will say this. Brenda and I both work for a company called Groups Recover Together. Now, Groups Recover Together does not support this YouTube channel. The views expressed on this channel are expressly by me, Brian Fontaine, and Brenda
And
Bannett.
are for entertainment purposes only and should not be copyrighted and
Yeah. Should not be used as medical advice. Uh,
at
all
all.
all of that's in the disclaimer, by the way, on the description of my video. Um, but if you do need help, man, shoot us an email. Contact me through this channel. Or Brenda, do you happen to know the 800 number by heart for groups?
I always have it at the tips of my fingers. I sure do. And that number would be 800 683 8313. 1-800-683-8313. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week,
Yeah.
24/7, 365, I like to say.
Nice. So I'll put the number on the screen right here or right here or somewhere. I'll put the number on the screen, right? Um, we did that in our very first video 100 years
Yeah,
ago.
that's what brought it to my mind.
Um, and yeah, again, we don't, we're not sponsored by groups or anything like that, but it's a good program. And if you struggle with opioid use disorder, help is available. Any final words, Brenda, as we wrap up today's
You would
video?
be amazed at how much work you can get done in 1 hour every week with a commitment, with just an hour, and with other people. It takes a village for kids and for adults, yo. It's okay.
Yeah, awesome. This was a fun video. It's good to see you again, Brenda. God bless
Oh,
you.
you too, Brian. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'm Brian. She's Brenda on YouTube at New Life Recovery. Until next time, be well.